Welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast, sponsored by the Draft Professors, joined with Draft Professors EJ and Taylor. And the last time EJ and Taylor were together, EJ was calling out Arvell Reese as a sleeper before the college season began. So we are cooking with gas here, everybody. EJ, how are you doing on this fine Thursday?
I'm doing good. I'm enjoying Arvell Reese making me look smart. So I always enjoy that. But other than that, I'm doing all right.
Yeah, and Taylor, I appreciate you coming in from your early time slot to help with this podcast. It has been 2 weeks since I've seen each of you. I hope you each had a great Thanksgiving. EJ, you pitched this idea to me and I loved it. So do you want to kind of let everybody know what we're about to start discussing as far as slot players and like what inspired the idea and everything else?
Yeah. So basically, this idea was we wanted to create a new type of position or position rankings, we wanted to make it like the nickel position because we see a lot of defenses in the NFL now. They're going to play predominantly nickel packages, and like those nickel defenders are so important now. From last year, the Philadelphia Eagles, they played 78% nickel defense for the entire year. Part of the reason for that was they had Cooper DeJean, and he had his breakout year. So they didn't want to take him off the field and go to their base defense. So they answered and that's the thing. That's the thing about when you have a good nickel defender that can wear all the hats that's required. You can answer the schematic advantages. You can answer any offensive personnel package with nickel if you want to, because you have a player that can do so much. Because usually when teams go into 12 personnel, 13 personnel, defenses answer with base personnel. That's all your bigger linemen, your 5-man fronts. You don't have your nickel package, your nickel defender out there. So sometimes you're stuck with a bigger, slower linebacker that's on your tight end or so that's on your slot receiver. So that's a disadvantage for the defense. But when you have an excellent nickel defender, because with your nickel defender, you have run fit responsibilities as well. So you have to be able to defend the run, and then you have to have your necessary coverage responsibilities, because you can see anything from a tight end to a big slot wide receiver to a small shifty slot wide receiver. So you have to be able to cover all of that. So what we're seeing now is we're seeing teams answer things because the Seattle Seahawks now, they're playing defense very well this season. What they use Nick Emmanwori from South Carolina, drafted last year, they play him as their nickel slot defender. The Ravens, the best version of the Ravens defense is when they use Kyle Hamilton as their nickel slot defender. They have that type of athletic, versatile player. You can do so much with your defense, and you don't have to worry about changing personnel or matching up. So it's a huge advantage when you find the right person. And that's the hard part. You have to find the right person, because that guy has to be, that position requires you wearing a lot of hats. So you have to be able to do it. So it's a lot of, in every draft, it's a lot of players like this. So I figured, why don't we make a position just for these guys? Sometimes, usually people just do cornerback rankings, and you can't rank a cornerback when they're going to play two different positions. It's too hard. So I figure, why not just do slot defenders? And the thing is, and you got these alien athletes out here like Sonny Styles and the kid from LSU. They're the size of a linebacker, but they can play like a defensive back because they have this type of speed. So I included linebackers in this too, because they are second level defenders as well. So pretty much I figure we'll just do a list of guys that would fit into this role specifically, and that project to the NFL in this type of role. So that's pretty much what the show should be.
Okay. So Taylor, I know that nearly this entire podcast got planned by us messaging back and forth. Hey, Taylor, you want to, come on at 9 p.m. with EJ, here's the theme. But there really wasn't a lot of discussion. How did you understand what the theme of the podcast was?
I essentially treated it, like EJ said, as a new position, right? Like I just went and I looked at the top slot defenders in the NFL, and I looked at where they came from. And I was shocked to find out that almost all of them played mostly corner in college, like outside corner, like boundary corner. They were not playing in the slot in college. There's some of them. Javon Bullard is an example. Mike Sanistra, like those guys played in the slot a lot in college, but a lot of these guys are outside corners. They were the best corner on their team in college. They moved to the NFL. They're a little undersized for the position. I mean, just in terms of snaps, you got guys like Cooper DeJean, Jaquan McMillan from the Broncos, Upton Stout, Jacob Parrish, Kenny Moore. Like these are all guys that were considered undersized, right? But all of those 5 guys have one thing in common, and that is their tenacity. Like that is their physicality, drive to get to the football. And like I almost think that this slot episode is like just as much, if not more, mental, like EJ started to say, with like the processing in the run game. Also, covering on the back end as well, man coverage in the slot. You have to guard tight ends. Like there are a lot of hats you have to wear as a slot defender. So yeah, I treated it as I just looked at some of the players that are in the NFL playing at a high level, and I kind of found some college guys too that play similarly. And also only 4 safeties in the top 20 in terms of slot snaps. So I thought that was interesting. So it's going to be interesting to see where some of these guys fit, because there are some bigger guys, some linebackers like Harold Perkins Jr. you talked about. I have Kendall Daniels on my list, Deshaun Singleton from Nebraska. There's some big, tall 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" like defenders that are playing in the slot right now in college.
So a couple questions. So Taylor, when you were saying only 4 of the top 20 were safeties, you just made a comment. You're saying only 4 of the top 20 NFL slot defenders.
In terms of snaps played in the slot, yes. I was just looking at snaps played to know who's playing the majority of that volume. And it is mostly cornerbacks, but there are a couple guys like Nick Emenwari. He's like 19th in slot snaps. So that is an example like where they are using him like that. Like Cooper DeJean is number 1, who was a safety. Then they moved him to corner full time this year or last year.
I was going to ask, does DeJean fit that? Was he one of the group of 4?
No, he's listed as a corner. I'm just looking at PFF, so he's listed as a corner. But I think he plays more safe. Like they kind of moved him a little bit after his rookie year. That being said, though, I mean he's the number 1 in terms of slot snaps. Like he's playing the most in the slot.
Who are the 4 safeties at the NFL level that are meeting the criteria for the slot grade?
I'm so glad you asked, because a lot of these players I kind of fit into these molds. So one of them is Quentin Lake for the Chargers, about 6'1", 200 pounds, pretty physical player. And then you have, let's see here, Jalen Petrie, who is a completely different style of player. Right? He's more of a cover guy, but he's playing in the slot. He's listed as a safety. He was drafted as a safety, but he comes down and plays in the nickel a lot for them. And that defense, then you have Mika Fitzpatrick, same thing with him. And then you have Nick Emenwari, who is someone similar. And then tied for like 21st is Shamari Connor for the Chiefs as well. So he's another guy.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you setting the table. Okay. So EJ, where do we go from here?
I guess we can just start naming guys. I mean, we can go back and forth and see who we got.
So feel free, I'll start. EJ, your idea. I'm giving you the lead.
Well, I mean, first guy, I think he translates immediately to this. And honestly, after watching him a second time, I landed with a 1st round grade on him. Jalen Kilgore from South Carolina. This guy, he's about 6'1", 6 foot, 219 pounds. You got it listed at. But the guy, he can move. He carries. He's not one of those guys that look kind of like the weight is slowing him down, but he carries it well. He's a guy that if you ask him to wear a lot of hats on defense, he can do that because they play him in the slot already. And so he shows up against the run. When like with the slot defender, you have to be sometimes you have to be the guy that sets the edge. Sometimes you have to be the guy responsible for the C gap, for the D gap. And he shows up against the run. He has that physicality, he has that play strength, he has that tenacity, and he can cover. He has good straight line speed, so you can trust him. Like I trust him against tight ends and man-to-man coverage. I wouldn't have a problem leaving him against tight ends and man-to-man coverage. He can play in some zone coverage as well. He drops back in that hook curl flat zone, and he can get eyes on the quarterback. So he has that type of zone awareness. But he has his ball skills have improved. He had a couple of reps this season where he showed his ball skills, able to locate the football in the air. In the past, that has been one of the knocks against him, low ball production. But he has shown the ability to locate the football and show his ball skills. But pretty much he is a plug and play nickel defender. You're not asking him to be some superstar or anything like that, but if you want somebody that's just going to hold down the position, like in year one, hold down a position and just play his role, he can do that. And then he's just going to get better from there because he has all the athletic traits. It's just a matter of time before he gets the communication down, because, when you're a slot defender, you have to communicate with your safeties, because sometimes you got to rock and roll coverage depending on motion on the offense. So he'll get that down. That's just pretty much reps. That's just coaching and all that. But I think he's a plug and play nickel defender.
Yeah, and I think Kilgore was at the top of the list. I think when you pitched the idea, it was you wanted to talk about Harold Perkins and Jalen Kilgore in the same podcast.
Yep.
Taylor, you just got done evaluating the safeties. How high did you have Kilgore graded?
I had Kilgore, and I don't have my final round grades right now, but of my safeties, he is 6, my number 6 safety. And I think it's for a lot of the reasons you said. He's going to play primarily, I think, in the slot, right? In the NFL, I think he is a plug and play guy. And to me, of any of the players that we'll talk about today, Harold Perkins, Deshaun, any of these guys that I'm going to bring up, any of the guys probably EJ's going to bring up, Jalen Kilgore has the highest upside of any of these guys. In my opinion, he is the most fluid mover for being that size, 6'1", 220 pounds almost, and he can move the way he moves. The fact that he has reps where he's going one-on-one with Ryan Williams and he's holding his own. He has one-on-one. His best PBU of the season is a one-on-one rep against Jeremy Bernard, who's going to be a top 75 pick in the NFL draft. So I think he has good ball skills. I think EJ hit it right on the head when he said that he's improved his ball skills. He has 8 career interceptions now, but he's just a physical, impactful player that's going to make plays all over the field. And I think in the slot is a perfect fit for him at the NFL level.
So, EJ, I'm curious. When you were mentioning the LSU players you were introing, were you talking about Mansour Delane or AJ Halsey?
No, I was talking about Harold Perkins. I just couldn't remember.
Oh, you were talking about Harold Perkins. Okay. Because I was actually about to ask, how does AJ Halsey compare with Kilgore? But I'm going to save that one for the safety big board next week. Taylor, who's your next nickel player?
Yeah, I'm going to go to a guy who I have as ranked as my 3rd overall safety right now, and that's Kamari Ramsey out of USC. So Kamari Ramsey is he's been primarily safety until this year, and they had so many injuries at their corner position. But the defensive coordinator decided to pluck him in at nickel corner, and that's where he's been primarily playing all year. And he has been very, very good. The biggest thing about him from last year was that he was missing so many tackles. He missed he's 20% missed tackle rate or something like that. This year so far, he's missed 1 total tackle playing in the slot. So I think the move allows him to kind of free up and be that chess piece that can move around in the back end of the defense. To me, I'm not saying this is a player comp, but in terms of we talked about at the beginning of the show, the safeties that are playing slot reps or slot snaps in the NFL, and one of those top guys being Jalen Pitre, I think he's very comparable to Jalen Pitre in the fact that he's going to play in the back end, but when it's 3rd down, when it's passing downs, he's going to come down in the slot and he's going to man up against, the inside receiver, and he's going to honestly have a pretty good chance of beating them. One of my favorite plays from him actually happened in fall camp. He's going one-on-one with Mekhi Lemon down the sideline, and he makes an insane PBU. So he can cover if he can cover Mekhi Lemon in practice, he can cover pretty much any receiver in the NFL, right? We know Mekhi Lemon's route running is top tier in this class. So, I'm a big fan of him. I think he has the mentality that we talked about as well, where he wants to be physical. He wants to be down at the line of scrimmage, making plays in the flats, making plays in the passing game. He's got sticky man coverage. And I'm a fan of Kamari Ramsey.
So EJ, was Kamari Ramsey on your original list?
Yeah. I know he wasn't on my original list, but going through the list, I saw him, and I seen he had 251 reps in the slot according to PFF. And to Taylor's point, he's only credited with one missed tackle for the entire season. So like that tackling has definitely gotten better. But yeah, he's another guy. They put him in the slot this year. But last year it was a safety. They put him in the slot, and you see he's found a home there. So going into the league, he can show teams he can play both. Whatever whatever role they want him to play, he can do both. But he looks good as a slot defender.
Cool. And then EJ, who is the next slot player that you wanted to bring to everybody's attention?
Traydon Stukes from Arizona. He's a fifth-year senior. He's had some injuries. I think he missed like most of last year with injuries, but he was a part of, like a couple of years ago, he was a part of this huge Arizona defensive backfield when they had Takario Davis, and he was about 6'4". They had Ephesians Price-Sock, who's about 6'4", and he was the slot cornerback standing at 6'2", 200 pounds. So they had a really big corner rotation there. But the thing that stands out about him is he's 6'2". He's taller, got longer arms, longer legs, but he moves like he's a smaller guy. He in space, he's pretty good with changing direction and getting his hips around. But I like the physicality that he brings to the table. He's a guy that's going to trigger downhill really fast. He has decent speed. He looks like he runs in about the 4.5 range, which is perfectly fine. Playing in the defensive backfield now. But I like the physicality, the aggressiveness that he shows going forward. He's another guy. He shows up against a run. That's the thing. These guys, they have to show up against a run first and foremost, because that's what's asked for. You can't just be a cover guy. Now, as a cover guy, they line him up in the slot. They line him up as a deep safety as well. He shows good range in both aspects of that. I watched him against BYU, like right before we did the show. I watched him against BYU, and he's got a little shifty slot receiver in man coverage. It's on third down, and he's playing in zone. He's able to stay in phase with the wide receiver, get his head around, and make a interception. He's had 4 interceptions on the season so far, 6 PBUs. So he's I think he's an effective player. He uses his size, he uses his length. But I think he's a guy that he can play deep safety for you. He can be your single high if you want to, but he's really at home as a slot corner, because that's what he's done most of his college career, and he's played in the slot. So you see him, he's more at home there. So he's another guy that you can get him probably in the mid to later rounds, but he could be your top slot corner on your team.
So it was interesting when we did the scouting report for Stukes. The slot discussion came up. There was also discussion of, is he a better NFL safety than corner? Like, what's his better position, slot or safety? They said it probably was not on the boundary, but that was a discussion when they were breaking down the player. The slot discussion came up, and he was grouped with the cornerbacks. Taylor, I'm curious, was Stukes one of the players in your list?
Yeah, he actually was on my list, but I took him off because I started looking into the NFL slot receivers, and all those undersized guys like Jaquan McMillan and Upton Stout and Jacob Parrish caught my eye. So I started kind of going down that route, and I didn't want to have 20 guys. So I did take him off, but I did watch him a little bit, especially while I was watching Genesis Smith for the safety stuff. So he popped on tape a couple times as well. And I agree. I think to me, the discussion around slot and safety is so, I don't want to say it's unnecessary because it matters, but I mean, to me, if you can do both, or if you can do multiple things, like that just makes you that much more valuable, right? So like, not only is he 6'2", willing to play in the slot, he can play in zone coverage, he can play on the back end, he can move all the way around. So I think it gives you options, right? Because every single week in the NFL, there are injuries. Safety goes down, guess what? Plug him in at safety. Slot corner goes down or nickel corner goes down, plug him in at nickel corner. Like, it is good to have those guys. And to me, Tre'Davious Stukes is probably somewhere in day 3 range, I think, pretty comfortably. And that's good. You need that. He'll be like a cornerback 4 or 5 on somebody's roster, right? Like, so he'll have to play snaps throughout the season, but he's not going to be relied on to be the guy, at the boundary or even in the back end necessarily on every single, game snap to snap basis. But I think he'll be a good rotational player. And at 6'2", like, you want to think that he'll be able to be a gunner or play on special teams as well, right? With that size. So I think that's another plus for him as well. And I do think day 3 for him.
Okay. So Taylor, who's the next slot player that you had on your list?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Indiana. He's going to have a fun matchup this week against Jeremiah Smith, and that's D'Angelo Pons. So D'Angelo Pons has actually almost exclusively only played corner, like on the outside. He's not played any slot in college, but he's 5'9", 173. He is the most physical corner in this class, in my opinion, regardless of size. Like, he one-on-one versus Denzel Boston last year absolutely dominated him. He's one of the highest graded corners in the country on PFF. So both tackle and coverage, he has a 90 plus. Like, that's almost unheard of. He's only allowed 43% reception against. He has no penalties this year, which is extremely notable because he had 7 last year. So he's improved on his penalties, which were a huge issue for him because he's overly physical. Now he's being overly physical, or not overly physical, but physical enough to the point where he's not getting in trouble for it. He also is another player that only has 1 missed tackle all season. It's a 2% missed tackle percentage. He has unbelievable sticky man coverage. Like, he is mirroring defenders at an unprecedented rate. Like, he's one of the best corners in the country. And I think someone posted about it on Twitter, but if he was 2 inches taller or 3 inches taller, we would be talking about him as a top 15 pick. He would be in conversation for cornerback 1. But again, he's 5'9", 173. I think he is a plug and play slot guy. I think he's going to be one of the best values in the draft because I think he'll go mid to late day 2, similar to where Upton Stout, Jacob Parrish just went in this last draft, right? They were round 3 picks, I believe. And those guys are producing at a high level right now as immediate slot corners. Not only that, he plays special teams. He blocked a punt and returned it for a touchdown this year. Like I said, he allowed only 34 yards versus Jeremiah Smith last year when they played. So this Saturday, it's going to be must-see TV with those two. And lastly, he's blazing fast. He hit 23.5 miles an hour in game this season. Like, that's unbelievable. Like, that's in the 4 threes. Like, I think when he tests out, I think people are going to be like, oh, this guy's legit. It's kind of going to be like Jacob Parrish. Like Jacob Parrish played primarily outside corner at K-State. He's undersized, but he's physical. He's all over the football field. And then he ran a blazing 40 time and he killed it at the combine and he rose his stock all the way to round 3. Like, I think Pons is already at round 3. And once he tests, I think we're going to be talking about a top 50 player.
So EJ, curious, was D'Angelo Pons one of the slot players that you had identified?
No. For the simple reason that I thought he could stay outside. Because when I looked at him, I watched him during the summer, and I this guy, you see the footwork, the twitch, the explosiveness. This guy can play outside. You may not want him in press man coverage all the time with bigger guys, but you put him against playing off man, let him play zone, let him be physical at the break point instead of at the line of scrimmage. You just let him play in space and let him trigger downhill on these in breaking routes, and he can run with anybody on vertical routes. So if you're not putting a bigger guy directly in front of his face, that limits the effectiveness of the bigger guy. And now you're accentuating his speed and his quickness and his eye discipline and all of that. So I said he can stay out on the outside corner. I play him in off man coverage all day. I play him in zone coverage all day, cover 3, cover 2, all of that. I pretty much I graded him as just a regular outside cornerback. I'm willing to let him fail on the outside first, then put him in the slot. So I didn't look at him as a slot for this exercise.
Okay, so EJ, who is the next slot player you want to discuss?
Next slot guy, I think he translates well to the slot is Keontae Scott from Miami. It's another guy around the 6 foot, 200-pound range. And he checks a lot of the boxes. His physicality is excellent. I put up a couple of tweets with him just like triggering downhill and knocking somebody's head off. He has decent speed in coverage. I think his speed is more like he's not like a 4.3 guy or nothing like that, but I think he's about a high 4.4, 4.5 type of guy. But that's perfectly fine because he's able to run with anybody. He's covered tight ends. He's covered slot wide receivers. He shows up against the run. He can play in man coverage. He's just a tough physical defender. So I think he just translates perfectly to the slot. He's not going to be I don't think he's going to blow up the combine or anything like that, but he's just going to be your solid player. I really like the physicality because the physicality shows up. They try to run screens to his side. He blows up the blockers. Anybody tries to run outside, he's the first one in line going to make the tackle. And as far as coverage down the field, he pretty much primarily plays in zone, so he has decent zone eyes. He reacts well to the quarterback. Sometimes the quarterback will try to play tricks on him with his eyes, try to misdirect him while he's in zone coverage. He doesn't get fooled a whole lot. But yeah, he's just a solid player. I think I would project him like directly to the slot position. He probably can later on in his career probably can transition to safety, playing deep safety responsibilities. But right now, I could put him in slot and be comfortable with it.
Yeah, and I know that was one of the player names that I dropped into the chat because that had came up when we had done scouting reports on Keontae Scott. So Keontae Scott played last year at Auburn, I believe, transferred to Miami this year. He was a boundary corner for Auburn, if I understood the scouting report last year correctly. And then this year, the scouting report on him changed to being a slot corner. Curious, Taylor, if you had Keontae Scott from Miami on your list.
I did not put him on my list, but I have him on notice. Like I'm noticing that he's playing well. And the best thing for him is I think I watched an early game of him maybe a while back, and he's just, from everything I can see, like metrics wise and everything, he looks like he's getting better as the year goes on. And I think that is just probably indicative of that move to more of a slot. So I think EJ hit it right on the head. I think he's someone that can play in the slot right away in the NFL.
Yep. And Taylor, who is the next player you would like to discuss?
Yeah, we will. Let me stay with, let me see here. Let's do, I got a couple guys that I'm not sure are going to come out this year on this list as well.
That's okay. Well, we can give the audience 2 years worth of slot players. I'm all for it.
All right, I think I'll go real quickly. I'll go to Iowa State, and unfortunately, he had an ACL injury, and it was a kind of a freak ACL injury. There was a double team downfield, and he made the play, and then the other defender hit his knee and kind of messed him up. So he only played 5 games this year, but that's Jontez Williams from Iowa State. He's another guy. He's 5'11", 200 pounds. I just think his man coverage is very good, and I think that just translates really well to the inside. And I think 5'11", probably he's listed at 200, probably like 190, probably 195, something like that. I think he's a mold that can play in the slot. He in the whole country right now. Again, he only played 5 games, but 4th lowest in yards allowed per snap in coverage, like 0.3 per snap. He's smart. He's disciplined in zone coverage. I think he has above average ball skills. He had 4 straight games with an interception last year in 2024. Had an interception this year early before he got hurt as well. I do think he's likely to return, but again, he had that 4 straight games with interception last year while sharing the field with Raiders, I believe, 3rd round pick Darian Porter. I don't know if he went in the 3rd or 2nd. I don't remember where he went. Somewhere in the top 100, the Raiders took his teammate, and he was outshining his teammate. Like, if you remember, Darian Porter didn't even play every snap for Iowa State because they had Jontez Williams, and still have Jeremiah Cooper. Like, they had a good secondary. Darian Porter just tested out of this world at the combine, and obviously he's a huge corner, flew up the draft boards, right? That's why the Raiders took him. But I think technique-wise, Jontez Williams, one of the best corners in the country in coverage, I think. And I think that's going to translate really well to the slot.
Yeah. So EJ, when we did the summer scouting cornerback board, right? Because I think you were doing that. And I don't remember. I don't remember who you were doing it with, but Jontez Williams was on. He was very high on Brian Maffey's board, and he was on one other board. So I think 2 of the 4 people that did corner boards had a really high grade on Jontez Williams coming out of the summer, and then he got injured. To Taylor's point, like 5 games into the year. So I've taken him off the simulator because I was like, I'm thinking if you've torn your ACL, you're better off for the rehab to be in college and then come out a year later than to miss an NFL training camp. That's my opinion, but you don't want to get medical advice from me.
Yeah. I mean, I think he should probably go back because, like, with rehabbing the ACL, you can't do any off-season training. Like teams can't bring you in and work you out or anything like that. So it'll kill his draft stock. So it's best bet that he goes back to school.
Yeah, I would agree. It's interesting to note too that like his teammate Jeremiah Cooper, who we've talked about, is going to be an NFL player as well. He also is out for the season, I believe. So if he gets a medical redshirt with NIL and everything, like they could return 2 of the best defensive backs in the country, right? Like, so that's another interesting way to like think about it. I do think he'll end up ultimately being a 2027 guy, but man, I'm a huge fan of him. So I hope he comes back healthy and has a good 2026 season.
Okay. So EJ, where do we go next?
I got Kyle Lewis from Pitt. He's listed as a linebacker for Pitt on their depth chart. He's listed as a star. They got their 2 they Mike and their Will linebackers, and he's listed as a star player, which pretty much is the same thing as he's a slot player. According to PFF, he's got 244 reps in the slot this year. Overall, 319 reps in the box overall. So he's a guy that he's listed as a linebacker, but he doesn't really play. He's kind of like a I don't want to say a poor man's Harold Perkins, but he's in that type of mold where he's got linebacker type size, but he's got defensive back type of athleticism and movement ability. So he's that type of player. He may be somebody's diamond in the rough because like he's a guy, he moves very, very well in space. I mean, he is very similar to Harold Perkins as far as athletically and size-wise, because they're around the same size. But he moves very well in space. Triggers. He's best when he's going forward. So he's got the footwork and the movement to drop down into his hook curl coverage, and he can get depth in his zone drops. But he's best when he's moving forward, when he's attacking from depth, when he's attacking downhill. That's when you really see the speed, the athleticism. So he's more of a run and chase type of player. But as far as coverage snaps, he's had 290 coverage snaps this year and over 300 last year. So this is where he's comfortable playing. He's comfortable playing on the second level of the defense and dropping back in the zone coverage and triggering downhill from the second level. This is what he does. So I think he just translates to a bigger type of slot defender at the next level. You see, he already has the size, and I think he's going to get a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. So if somebody wants to make him a true stack linebacker, they can. But starting out right now, I think he can play in the slot. He can be that nickel type of defender that wears all the hats. I wouldn't trust him necessarily in deep coverage as far as his ball skills and all of that. But as far as playing the first and second level of the defense, he can do that all day.
Okay, and I remembered you covered him with the linebacker group that you podcast with on Fridays. Curious Taylor of Kyle Lewis of Pittsburgh was on your list.
Oh yeah, yep. And this is going to be maybe the second time where EJ and I disagree here because he has Pons as an outside corner. I think Kyle Lewis is a linebacker. Like I think he's listed as he plays a lot of slot snaps. When you go watch the tape, it's like what he's doing in the slot isn't really what a slot defender does. He's blitzing off the edge almost every time. I mean, Pittsburgh has 2 other really good linebackers in Rasheem Biles and number 0. Love, what's his name? They have another linebacker, number 0, number 3. 2 linebackers that are almost as good as Kyle Lewis already. And those 2 linebackers kind of sit inside. And so they do put Kyle Lewis kind of out in the slot a little bit, but he's always looking run first. Like he is a run first defender. He is coming downhill. EJ nailed it. Like when he's coming downhill, he's great. And I think that ultimately why he fits at linebacker. I don't see him. He doesn't have the coverage skills, and not just the coverage skills. From what I saw on tape, he doesn't have the coverage confidence. Going east or west, he's late to react on balls going to the sideline, east-west, and he's unconfident, in my opinion, in zone coverage over the middle of the field. He doesn't really know where to look. He just kind of looks awkward in zone coverage. So I think to EJ's point, coming downhill, hitting people, smash people in the mouth, he is going to be one hell of a special teamer, I think. But to me, I don't know that necessarily translates to slot the same way that we're seeing it necessarily in the NFL, because he's not as big of an athlete as Emanwuri or, a Kendall Daniels, who I'll talk about here in a second as well. So to me, I think he fits better at linebacker. And I think, just outside linebacker, he can cover the tight ends. He can do a little bit in coverage, but I wouldn't really trust him to man a portion of the middle of the field. I think he gets beat pretty often in that. But man, when he comes downhill, he's a fun player to watch.
That almost sounds like Dorian Williams.
I don't even think I know who that is. I might be a little young. Old name?
Dorian Williams is a reserve linebacker for Buffalo.
He came from UCLA, I think, right? He came from UCLA.
I don't remember where we drafted him from, but basically when he plays for Buffalo, we've tried having him drop into pass coverage. That was a disaster. But if we need a QB to spy a Jalen Hurts or a Patrick Mahomes, he's the spy.
That would be an awesome role for Kyle Lewis. I think that would be awesome for him.
Yeah, you see, I was listening to your description. I'm like, yeah, that's how Buffalo uses Dorian Williams.
Yeah, I also think it's noteworthy that he was the number 4 player in the 2022 class. He's a 5-star prospect. He played high school basketball. So to your point about moving around, he has that skill set as well. For me, it's just the cover. It's just the lack of coverage, confidence mostly for him. And another player that is what I went into watching Kyle Lewis, I was hoping that it was more like this player, but man, Kendall Daniels is from Oklahoma, is such a strong physical. Again, another guy who's going to play he's probably going to play linebacker, but it would not surprise me if they're going to put him in some Emanwuri type roles. If someone that drafts him with a plan, right? We know the Seahawks drafted Emanwuri with the top of their second round pick with a plan, and they're executing on that plan. Their defense has been phenomenal all year, right? So if someone does that with Kendall Daniels, I actually think he's a more versatile version of Emanwuri. I don't think that he's a better, more well-rounded prospect. I don't think he's necessarily, I would rank them higher if I was ranking them next to each other, but he can pass rush off the edge, play Mike linebacker, play off-ball linebacker, play safety, play nickel. In every single place that he plays, he is bringing bruising physicality. He is one of the most physical players in the country. I think he gets a little over physical at times, and he has a pretty high missed tackle rate. And even watching it on film, you see it, and you're like, oh man, he's there. He's there. He makes 95% of the play. But that last 5%, sometimes he lets them slip through his grasp. So if he sees it and he goes straight downhill, he's going to hit you with some force. So I'm a big fan of Kendall Daniels as well, but I do think he's probably best fit to be a linebacker, and then sub packages probably play a little bit in the slot, and then a little bit, Mike linebacker even. He's an interesting prospect because he's so versatile.
Yep. And we covered Oklahoma during summer scouting. And it should be noted that Oklahoma last year put Billy Bowman into the draft. And Billy Bowman, I think, is the definition of this episode. Right? Because he was a safety, but he profiled better to slot, I believe, if I understood the scouting report on him correctly. But the reason I want to point out Kendall Daniels at Oklahoma is we don't want to scout the helmet, but you should scout the helmet here. And that's because this is not the last Oklahoma player we will be talking about over the next several years. So they have a safety that's getting a return to school grade. His name already escapes me. They have a safety that converted to linebacker, Samuel Amasigo.
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so Oklahoma is recruiting a certain type of player, but they're not sure if they're a safety or a linebacker at the time that they're recruited. And they're
Yeah.
moving them around. And when it comes to like projecting them to the NFL, we like them.
Yeah. You might be thinking of Robert Spears Jennings. He's another
Right.
safety.
Yeah.
Patrick,
Yeah.
it was it Bowen?
They have two Bowens, Eli and Peyton.
Peyton
their brothers.
Bowen.
Peyton Bowen. Peyton
Peyton
Bowen was the
Bowen,
one
yeah.
that was getting a return to school. Spears Jennings is likely in this draft class, but I'm not implying that he can play slot. I haven't heard that about his scouting report yet.
No, I was just thinking about Oklahoma
Yep.
in defenders, but yeah, I would agree. Yeah, and I think it's interesting to note that he was a 3-year starter at Oklahoma State and then transferred to Oklahoma. So like that was like a huge offseason like thing in the state of Oklahoma. Obviously, like those are two pretty big rivals, but like the changes, like the change in his defense, like going to Venables' defense just allows him to play in space so much more. Like they kind of just stuck him at linebacker at Oklahoma State, and they're just like, yeah, go do the quarterback. Like, I think he had like 4.5 sacks last year or something like that at Oklahoma State. Like he had multiple sacks. Like he's not really in a role that's quantitative of getting him sacks this year. Like he's just not. He's playing in space. He's playing on the flat, in deep safety even. Like they're moving him around, and I think, man, Venables, he's a great coach. So if he can utilize a skill set like this, you got to figure most of these NFL defensive coordinators can do the same thing.
Yep. So I'm curious.
Yeah, I was going to say
Daniels on your list.
Yes, he was. Like always trust Brent Venables. He knows defensive players. He's got, and even on that Oklahoma defense right now, he's got some NFL guys there. Some guys, I know a cornerback that I don't know if he's going to come out this year, Jacoby Johnson. I don't know if he comes out this year or next year, but he's going to be a guy. Grayson Halton, the defensive tackle that nobody's really talking about. He's a good player. But what Kendall Daniels is, like Venables freed him up. He put him in space and allowed him. Now, mind you, this guy is listed at 6'5", 240 pounds. So he's the size of an edge rusher. So they got him out in the apex position. He's covering hook, curl, flat, one snap. He's behind as a stacked linebacker the next snap. And he's dropping in the coverage. He's defending the run. And the thing is, he's got the type of strength to take on offensive linemen and deconstruct blocks. So you can really do whatever you want to with him. And he has good enough movement ability to play in space. So you're looking at a guy that he may not have the top end speed and burst. That's the only thing I don't see is that first step, quick twitch or the long speed or anything like that. But that what he has is more than adequate to play in space. So he's a guy that you can really do whatever you want with him. If you want him to be your slot defender on certain downs, he can do that. If you want him to be a pure stack linebacker, he can do that as well. But what we're seeing from him now is we're seeing him thrive in space. Like he can survive in condensed spaces if he's got to fight offensive linemen, but we can see him move in space now, and that's what we didn't see at Oklahoma State. So credit to Brent Venables and seeing that in him, and credit to him for actually playing this role that he's never played before, and he's doing it pretty well. So, I mean, somebody's probably going to get like a steal on day 3 with him, and pretty much he's going to be day 1 special teams player, and then he's just going to work his way into your defense.
Yep, I'm with you on the special teams. I think he's going to be such a good special teams player. Like he's going to be awesome. Like just a freak athlete, physical hard hitter. My favorite thing about him is when he comes up to like make plays in the flats. That lead blocker, that little 6 foot, 200-pound wide receiver trying to lead block him. Yeah, right. I mean, he just goes right through him, makes the play. I mean, I watched the LSU game. It was awesome. I mean, he just blew up the lead blocker multiple times, multiple tackles in the flats. Like TFL's like, man, such a fun player. He's
all over the place in that game.
Okay, and then EJ, do you have another slot player for us?
I do. This guy from Georgia, Jonel Aguero. He plays in the slot for Georgia. But he reminds me of that kind of the Tyke Smith role. Tyke Smith is with the Buccaneers right now, I believe. But he's that guy. He's about, I think he's about around in the 5'11", under 6 feet, close to around 200-pound range. But he's got some feistiness to him. He's got some coverage ability. He's a guy that I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to move him into a deep safety type role, or he can stay in the slot. Only thing with that is he's got to get a little bit stronger. He's got some on film. I've seen him. He missed some tackles. Pretty much he's just falling off of guys. He's not really the strongest player right now, but the effort is there. It's just that sometimes the play strength isn't there. But I like the coverage ability that he has. I like the feistiness. He's a little bit sticky, a little bit grabby in coverage, but he's got quick feet, so he can stick with guys. He'll fight. He'll be competitive at the catch point against like bigger, stronger tight ends. Like some of those matches, he will lose because he does have some lift issues. He's not that big of a guy, but he's a guy that you want him to be your backup safety. You want him to play in the slot, to play in space and come downhill and blow stuff up. He's that type of guy. So he's a guy that if he gets a little bit stronger, he can develop. I don't even know if he's going to come out this year, but he's got to get stronger. He could develop into a solid slot player.
Yep. I was actually just checking to see what year he was because for this entire podcast, Jonal Aguero from Georgia was the first player I was not familiar with. So I was looking him up as you were talking about him.
Okay, yeah, I think he's like a true junior, right?
That's what our lads has, yes. And I trust our lads. I wasn't trying to diss our lads, but our lads has his. So I now understand why I haven't heard much about it.
Yeah, I had him on my list as well. I actually scratched him out because I had him as a true junior and also think he might be more fitted for that safety. I have to dive in fully, but that's why I put him on my safety board so I can discuss with the safety prospects. But yeah, no, I agree. I mean, he's played some of the most snaps in college football in the slot this year, so I get it. And I think another player from Georgia that has had success in the NFL playing in the slot and who did it in college, which is unique because, like I said, a lot of these guys played boundary corner. They were outside corners that they transferred inside because they're smaller players, right? Javon Bullard, actually, I think he's playing like the fifth most snaps in the NFL right now in the slot. And he's a player that primarily at Georgia played in the slot. So just another player, another Georgia callback in that defense that kind of played a similar role. And then that you saw that translate to the NFL, about the same size as well. I think he's about 5'11", 195 or whatever it is. So yeah, I'm with you. I took him off my board, but that's a good shout on him.
Okay. Where are we going next? I don't remember which person is supposed to go next. So I'm having fun just listening to the two you go back and forth. So this
I just went. So
yeah, I'll go. I can go. I'll do TJ Metcalf from Michigan. TJ Metcalf. And you might be like, wow, that sounds so familiar. Well, that's DK Metcalf's cousin. So he transferred from Arkansas to Michigan. He is listed as a safety, but he is playing a ton of slot. He's actually about the same size as Quentin Lake. I have him on my, that was one of the safeties that's playing the most slot snaps in the NFL, and I think that's kind of where he's at. But again, he transferred from Arkansas, comes in, and he is a physical player. Like there's one, I know they're playing Central Michigan and they should dominate Central Michigan. That's totally fine. It don't matter. These are grown men, right? Going at each other. He hit the lead blocker with one arm and scooped the other guy up with his other arm and just one hand wrapped him up. And they were like, CMU was driving in the red zone. Like he's a physical player downhill. I think he's an explosive athlete as well. And I think he is one of those guys. And I think where he needs to improve is his man coverage, right? If he wants to stick at slot in the NFL, he gets beat on some double moves. And his first reaction when he gets beat on double moves is to get hands on the receiver. He doesn't get called for a lot of penalties, but in the NFL, I mean, they're going to call that every time, right? If you get beat on a double move and you're two hands on the guy. So I think that's where he can improve, but man, he really comes downhill fast and aggressive in the flats to make plays. I mean, he has some big hits. There's a highlight of him absolutely smacking Northwestern's quarterback. And it was a clean, perfectly legal hit, picked him up, slammed him right down. Yeah, I'm a big fan of TJ Metcalf. I think he's more of that bigger like taller safety that can play in the slot, whereas some of these guys are a little undersized. Or we have the wide variant of like Eamon Worry and Kendall Daniels that are 6'3", 6'4". This one plays more like that, like Quentin Blake type style in terms of playing in the slot. So I just think you can't argue with the football bloodline, right? I mean, DK Metcalf, both of their dads played football at Ole Miss. The younger brothers on Michigan's team as well. I think he signed with Michigan, and when TJ transferred from Arkansas. So I'm gonna ride with the family bloodline on that one. I think he's gonna be a player that's gonna play in the NFL, and he's showing it at the slot right now at Michigan. So I think that translates.
Yep. And then Michigan has another. Did either of you have Zeke Berry on your list?
He played on the outside a lot, so I left him as an outside corner.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think actually he can. I think he's one of those guys that can do a little bit of both. I think he can play inside and outside. So, like, I think this year he's played a lot on the outside. I think he's a little bit under 6 feet, like close to 190, 200 pounds, something like that. But he can run. He's a physical guy. That most of those Michigan corners are physical guys. But yeah, I like them. I don't mind him on the outside. I think he's one of those guys you can flip him back and forth depending on what the matchup is. You can flip him up into the slot receiver, or you can flip him outside.
Yeah. So Zeke Berry, like, when I was putting like a couple of the scouting report shows together, I asked the draft professors for who are the Jordan Hancocks of this draft class, right? Because EJ, would you say that Jordan Hancock kind of fits your definition of what this podcast is? You're looking for the prospects like that, right? Well, Zeke Berry was on that list, and then Clint just did scouting reports. He didn't know about the Jordan Hancock thing. He says, but Jordan Hancock, the Ohio State player, is the comp for Zeke Berry, the Michigan player. And Clint and I had some fun with that one. But EJ, we only have a few minutes left in the podcast. How many more names do you have?
I'm done pretty much. I got my names out.
Okay. Taylor, any more names that you want to drop for everybody?
Oh, absolutely. I'll do one big one and one bonus, or two bonus ones, but they'll be quick. So the big one is and I don't know how to pronounce his name, so you'll have to forgive me. I think it's Devin Marshall, NC State cornerback. He is a transfer from Villanova. So he played at Villanova in 2022, Villanova in 2023. Transferred to NC State last year. So get this, he's a top 5 ACC defensive back in terms of catch rate, 46%, passer rating, 60.9%, passer rating, whatever, highest graded ACC defensive back. And he was not selected to any all ACC teams. He was absolutely snubbed. This dude, 9 forced incompletions against Florida State, 9. Deuce Robinson didn't have a catch for like most of the game. He only allowed 4 catches in that game on 14 targets. He had 2 interceptions and 7 PBUs in that game against Deuce Robinson. He was absolutely dominating. And I think, again, he was another player like I talked about with Pons, where he had a lot of penalty issues, right, last year. He only has 1 so far this season, so he's cleaned that up. I think he high points the ball well. He has good hands. I think what is most impressive about him, and there was a rep in the Sunday night football game, Broncos Commanders. If you watch that game, it was all over social media because Riley Moss had literally textbook coverage where he got beat, but he came through and he punched the ball out as the guy had in his hands, punched the ball straight out. Multiple times on tape, I saw this dude do the same thing. So even if he's beat by a little bit, he has the awareness to turn his head to the defender and punch straight at the ball and knock it out. He did that against Deuce Robinson a couple times. I just think he's physical at the line of scrimmage as well, which that to me translates to a slot, especially in man coverage. Like if you can get hands on the receiver early, you can kind of steer them the direction that you want them to go. I think he flies downhill a lot, tries to make plays at the line of scrimmage, even in the run, like in the run game. That does sometimes, or in the pass game, sorry, when he's in zone coverage, he comes down kind of looking for that flat coverage, which a couple times he did get beat in over the top of him back behind because he was kind of over aggressive in pursuing the flat. So I think that's something that as he's playing outside corner will be an issue. But if he's in the slot, I don't really see that as much of an issue. If that makes sense. So again, I don't think he's like the best run defender, but I think his man coverage, I think his ability to get to the ball and knock it loose, I think that translates well to the slot. So again, another corner playing on the outside.
And I think James Foster has been tweeting. This is it Davon Marshall?
It might be Davon or Devon. I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Davon? Okay. And I have my stuff written in all capitals, so if it's all like the name, so it just looks like Devon to me.
Yep. And then you have 2 bonus names for everybody.
Yeah, 2 bonus names. One of them is a junior, I believe, so I don't think he's going to come out, but name to watch, Braden Turner from Northwestern. He's a safety. He had never played nickel in his entire life 2 years ago. New coaching staff comes in. Now he plays nickel. He had a game versus Michigan where he had 3 tackles, an interception in the 4th quarter to set up the game-winning touchdown drive, fumble recovery, and a pass breakup. He's the first Big Ten player to record that stat line since 2022. He's a special teams player. He forced a fumble on the kickoff versus Penn State. Like he's a guy who going to play special teams. I think he's going to force his way into the league. I don't know if he'll be drafted. If he is, it'll be late day 3. 5'11", 195. I just think he's a really good player, and he talks about it a lot. My buddy he works at Northwestern in their athletic department, so I actually heard about him through my buddy. But he is one of those guys that he didn't know how to play nickel. So he talks about how much like emphasis it is on like learning the run game. Like he's obsessed with learning how to defend the run from the slot. Like this was an outside guy. So I like him. Northwestern is a very prestigious academic school. It's why they'll never be good at football. So he is a smart, level-headed guy, and he is physical. And like, I just think he's a really, really good player. But again, probably not going to come out this year, probably 2027. The other guy, this one is my Jaquan McMillan comp. 5'10", 170-pound cornerback from Marshall, Boogie Trotter. Boogie Trotter transferred from Tennessee State. Absolute ball hawk, first team all Sun Belt corner. He led the team in tackles at corner, 73 tackles, 5 interceptions, 5 PBUs, forced fumble. He scored 2 touchdowns. So yeah, this guy to me, he's one of those guys like we talked about Parrish, we talked about Upton Stout, we talked about Jaquan McMillan, undrafted free agent. Like you can't teach heart, you can't teach physicality, you can't teach the willingness to go in there and knock somebody's head off. Like that's what he's about. And I know he's undersized, 5'10", 170 pounds. Like he's not a big guy, but to me, like his mentality, like is going to get him into the league one way or another. Again, not sure he'll be drafted at that size. Depends on obviously how he tests, things like that. But man, he is a fun player to watch.
Okay. So EJ, do you want to take a moment, let everybody know about the draft guide and all of your non-generational draft content?
Yes. Pretty much, yeah. I'm starting work on the Rogue Analytics draft guide. That'll be out by the end of the draft cycle. I'll be doing cornerbacks and safeties, well, pretty much defensive backs altogether. So keep an eye out for that. You can catch my work on Twitter or X. Pretty much you see my Twitter handle right there in the corner. Pretty much what you get is pretty much film evaluation, NFL draft content, scheme evaluation. You know me by now. No rage bait, no clickbait, no hot takes, none of that stuff. And I never say the word generational.
Yeah, I love podcasting with you every week, EJ. Absolutely.
Just for that part.
Oh, I'm good as long as we can tease each other on it and not be offended. I think we're in good company. Taylor,
absolutely. Welcome
to Thursday late night.
Yeah, Thursday after dark. Is that what they're calling it? No, I'm just kidding. No, you can find my content on footballwithchaw.com. Also, Football with Chaw YouTube. My Twitter's linked there. I have put in the request to Twitter to change my YouTube or to change my handle to just Chaw, but they haven't got back to me yet. So we'll see. That's what I go by as my nickname. Everyone calls me that. So yeah, this is actually like, and to EJ's point, like putting together a draft guide. Like, this is my first time ever really going through like actually grading the players. Like I've always done it more of like a fantasy football lens. So I like know what players are coming in. And I was obsessed with NFL draft since I was a kid. So Jim gave me an opportunity to come podcast and dive into these players on a weekly basis. And man, I'm loving it. I'm putting together my own ranking model and things like that. It's been awesome to learn from a lot of great people at the Draft Professors.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank Taylor and EJ for podcasting today. Please give both of them a follow. Draft Professor does not function without Taylor and EJ showing up once a week to podcast and create this content. I also want to plug the Draft Professor Simulator. So there's a couple things on it. You're going to see us do a draft a team event on Tuesday next week. So a draft a team is kind of a come as you are, and who's ever on the podcast will snake draft a team of 11 players on offense and 11 players on defense. Tuesday at 7, right now confirmed is Owen, Jerry Ostrowski, myself, Randall Slifer, and Steve Letizia. And if you're not familiar with Steve, he's CFC Bears, and he has his own All 22 Patreon. So if you need All 22 film access, Steve is a really good guy to know. So we're going to be using the Draft Professor Simulator to run that podcast, but you don't have to watch the podcast if you don't want to. You can just do a draft team yourself. So wanted to give that plug. That being said, we're an hour in for EJ, Taylor, myself, for the 110 people at the Draft Professor. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you on a podcast again tomorrow, everybody. Thank you.